The coronavirus crisis continues with 5 cases confirmed here in the U.S. and more than 110 patients being evaluated in 26 states. But in China, the outbreak is far worse, with more than 4,500 confirmed cases, most in the city of Wuhan.
And that's where a man's 8-year-old daughter and her mother were living when the Chinese government shut the city down. His roots are here in Kentucky, in Pike, Floyd, and Fayette County. And
his ex-wife and daughter were some of the lucky ones today. Claire Kopsky has the big story at 5:30.
To the U.S. by way of a coveted ticket.
I'm more than a little concerned about what would happen if one or both of us got sick.
It's been crazy, and I've been on the phone to the embassy so many times and trying to get my daughter and her mother on the evacuation plane.
The evacuation plane is headed for the U.S. with a stop in Alaska. But there were only 200 seats, most of which were reserved for consulates and their staff. James was elated Priscilla received the call for herself and his daughter.
I expect it's because she's 8 years old, my daughter. It's sort of bad optics to leave a child behind.
But there were 2 catches before accepting the ticket. The first, the embassy would not provide transportation to the airport. All public transport is shut down in the city, and cars are not permitted on the roads. So after much discussion, the embassy and police finally approved one of their friends to drive them to the airport. The second catch, the price, $1,100 a ticket.
My ex-wife had to sign a promissory note that stated that they would reimburse the government for the cost of their evacuation, which blows my mind completely. That they're being rescued out of a pretty dire situation.
This morning at the airport, tensions were high.
Gone through a number of screenings, but when they were there, they saw people, American citizens, arriving at the airport trying to get on the plane who had not received a call from the embassy. And those citizens were being escorted out and turned away.
James says he knows others who received the call for the ticket who had to turn it down because they simply couldn't afford it. Because if you don't pay it back in 30 days, the U.S. government will invalidate your U.S. passport. Meanwhile, for James and thousands of other U.S. citizens living in China, there's a sense of fear and limited resources.
Even to go into Walmart here, you have to pass a temperature screening, which it says if you don't have a fever and you can't be coughing. So if you're sick, you can't actually even go into the supermarket.
A stressful situation with no end in sight. Claire Kopsky, LEX 18 News.
Right now, the only way out for U.S. citizens was one of 200 tickets on today's flight.